Going to call the meeting to order. Apologies for being 15 minutes past due, but here we are. It is now 7:45, and I'll call meeting number 1432 to order. I would like to welcome the online viewers at this time. Agenda meeting 1432 in front of you is the agenda for meeting 1432. Are there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, we shall move on. Before you have minutes for regular meeting 1431 held on February 14th. The minutes for the meeting number 1432 are presented. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, can I get a mover to accept, please? Moved by Councillor Langdon, seconded by Councillor Jones. Call for the question. Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. In front of you have minutes from special meeting held on February 15th, or the minutes for the special meeting February 15th. They're presented. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, can I get a mover? Moved by Deputy Mayor Young, seconded by Councillor Hancock. Call for the question. Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Excuse me. Business arising from the minutes. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Hearing none, we shall move on to new business. Does anyone have any new business to add tonight? All right, I guess I'll just take this quick moment. Some people will say it's not a municipal thing. Some say it's not a provincial or a country thing, but obviously there's a country that's in war-stricken times right now in Ukraine. I just want to thank some of the residents that reached out to myself, many members of council. I know Councillor Freak has been asked, if the town would just do some sort of little thing to show unity for peace at this time. So again, if you look on the town's Facebook website, you'll see that to show some small, appreciation to stand with those that are struggling at this time. The town has decided to put their lights to yellow and blue, and please feel free to take a picture and share that as much as possible. We've just went through 2 years of taking on an invisible destruction in our world, and now there's one that's very visible, and it's very alarming. So keep all those people, please, in your thoughts and prayers as days go forward. New business, that's it there. So we shall move on to correspondence. In front of you, you'll have MAA. There's an update that's for your information. Municipal Affairs Circular, that's for your information. Another one from Municipal Affairs Circular, that's for your information. Item number 5, Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts and Recreation. There's a funding letter. That's for your information. And we'll move on to item number 4, and I'll call upon the Deputy Mayor to make a motion to accept this proclamation, please.
Whereas lymphedema is a chronic and debilitating disease characterized by an accumulation of lymphatic fluid that causes swelling of the arms, legs, or other areas of the body, and which can cause disfigurement, disabilities, discomfort, pain, and distress, and impair quality of life. Whereas patients with lymphedema may struggle with pain and swelling, may have recurring severe infection caused by lymphedema, and may experience financial and psychological strains due to the difficulties of managing this disease. Whereas while there are cases of primary lymphedema that are inherited, most cases are secondary that developed as a result of trauma, infection, surgery, radiation therapy, or removal of lymph nodes, including cancer treatment. Whereas gaps in research, education, and effective treatments exist, and more knowledge about lymphedema is needed to achieve timely diagnosis, management, and care, and to develop more effective treatments. Whereas lymphedema is estimated to affect 2.8% of the population, or 14,600 people in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Whereas the Lymphedema Association of Newfoundland and Labrador is a registered charity dedicating to ensuring all lymphedema patients have access to information, support, and treatment, thereby promoting healthy and hopeful living with lymphedema. Whereas March 6th of each year is internationally recognized as World Lymphedema Day to raise awareness about the disease and the treatment options that are available.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor Young. So we have a mover. I'll need a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Langdon. Call for the question. Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. We will move on to reports. Councillor Jones, Finance, please.
Okay, our finance meeting was held on February 24th, 2022. A few items on the list. Number one is scratch from the report. All the few items they have. Number two, I guess we discussed for hotel levies, so we're going to recommend to start the process to move forward, and we'll see what information we're going to get a list and where we're going to move forward on either yay or nay. Number three, the annex financial needs, the recommendation that it's going to be probably from the public works to which government for concerning the extra costing for this project. Number four is a broker claim for $28,476.99. Recommend approval. This is in the budget. Also for budgeting items, we like to see recommendation projects, events in the budget be brought to finance for approval. Number six, revenues versus expenses. We like to see a recommendation come forward to continue to explore avenues to increase to our revenues in the future. So I move that we set the report from February 24th, number 2 to number 6.
Moved by Councillor Jones, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Call for a question.
Or comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to make note of, even if we get committee minutes or just a heads up, so we got some clarity. I think there was some miscommunication just at our last finance meeting, so we chatted with a couple of councillors just to bring some clarity on that. And then we made the comment about expenses versus revenues, to maybe have some management input on some increased revenue conversations. So I just wanted to bring that up to speed, that from a finance committee, we'd like to, going forward, maybe meet individually one-on-one to have that discussion.
Okay.
Yep.
Great comments. Anyone else?
I just want to note that I really like number 3. I think that really needs to happen, and I hope something does come of it, because it's an awful lot and it's a massive burden. And I do hope that that happens, and I do hope that it gets somewhere. And I'll just say, for number 1, I just want to be clear that the reason that's not there is because it was an in-camera discussion. I just want to just make that known, that's all.
All right. Any more comments or questions? I'll just add to item number 3, which again is anyone viewing online, it's annex financial needs. It's obviously a publicly funded project, and it does deserve due diligence to give public a update where we sit currently with the project and where we're hoping to go with it. So I can't give a specific date, but I do look forward to sitting with finance and all the departments involved to give a further update to where we are in progress on that project. In the, I'm going to say, fair to say, Jason, that would be something probably in 3 months' time that we could, release something publicly to where we sit. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Any more questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. Moving on to accounts payable. Councillor Jones, please.
Okay, accounts payable also February 24th. I'm going to move that we set a report from items 1 to 26 as 27 hours clear conflict of interest.
Okay, moved by Councillor Jones, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Call for a question. Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Freak, please.
Item number 7 for Western Steelworks for $2,557.33. I make a motion to pay the invoice.
Moved by Councillor Freak,
Just, is item 27, right, not 7?
2557. Sorry.
No, item number 27.
Oh,
Right,
item number
okay.
27. Yes, yeah.
okay. Moved by Councillor Freak, seconded by Councillor Hancock. Call for the question. Hearing none, all those in favor, motion carried.
Can I just have one comment there on item number 2? The cylinders, were they for the arena? Is that- Sorry? Gotcha, for the pool. Oh, gotcha, okay, sorry.
And actually, that is not 17, because we get a refund, what is it, on the barrels we send back?
All the empty cylinders, we get a refund.
So actually, that invoice, what I paid it today, or I got the check there today, is actually only 12,000, because there's a little over $5,000 in a credit. But it's gone off in a date?
And it's gone.
Yeah.
All right, is that clear, Councillor Langen? Yeah. Perfect. Thanks for the question. Is there another one in accounts payable?
Nope.
Let me see. No, that's the last one. Okay. All right, thank you, Councillor Jones and Councillor Freak. Moving on to Public Works. Councillor Fitzgerald, please.
I'd like to report on the Public Works Committee meeting of February 24th, 2022. In attendance was Councillor Langdon, Manager Maxine Hayden, Public Works Manager Dave Thomas, Communications Officer Jason Young, and myself. Regrets was Councillor Hancock. Item number 1 regards to street lighting in Sunrise Crescent. We had a letter from a resident regarding the cul-de-sac and the improper lighting at the end of Sunrise Crescent. The cul-de-sac was installed, was built last season. So it is a little bit of a dark area. So Public Works plans to visit and review the situation. Mr. Thomas believes that there may be existing poles which would allow for the installation if deemed necessary. Just a note that the town is still working on dark spots through the town. So, just let you know that part. Number 2, I'm going to move, if it's all right, Mr. Mayor, 2 down to the end of it, where it's policies. Number 3, with fireworks. We had a resident concerned about fireworks regulations. Public Works met on this item, and we decided that currently the town has a noise regulation, but nothing in regarding to fireworks. We believe fireworks since it's noted under the Provincial Government's Fire Protection Service Act, it provides guidance for any persons using these items, just for residents' knowledge. And you need to be 18. You got to discharge fireworks as per manufacturer's instructions, and to exercise care and caution when firing or discharging. We recommend that all our residents follow these guidelines. The town itself will notify residents when we plan to discharge fireworks for special occasions such as Canada Day and Strawberry Festival. I don't know why it's going up number 6. Number 4, Maple Street storm drain. Town received a letter regarding ongoing issues with stormwater in Maple Street area. I'd like to suggest that the town will apply for funding to complete a storm sewer study. This year, we have applied for that funding, and in addition, the town will review this area in the spring to actually have an idea of where the water may be traveling to. So besides the policies, I recommend council accept the minutes of February 24th, 22nd.
All right, thank you. Moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Langdon. Call for a question. Go ahead.
Did we, the storm drain issue, we also had a couple of residents on Hancock's Road write us within the last week or 2. Was that after your Public Works meeting?
That was after our public
Okay.
work meeting.
Yeah,
So we'll address.
Keith, I followed up with the town manager, so Keith has followed up with that resident.
Okay. There was two, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of two, I was aware of one.
Two that came to us as a full council, you mean an email?
Yep. One was water, and the other one was snow blowing.
Yes, yeah, both of those.
Okay. Okay. And we've contacted both residents? Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, that's a good note, because myself and Deputy Mayor spoke about, you know, when you get chain emails and who responds or who doesn't, and we just don't want to leave anyone out. So I think that's something we need to table to make sure, again, that as a council member, any of us would know that it's been corresponded to, right?
Just the chain email back, hi, you've been,
100%.
taken care of, and yeah, we get a response would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Can we take note of that, just because it can get complicating sometimes and it can go all over the place, so.
Okay.
All right. Okay, remind me where I was again. I'm sorry, I'm just
Sorry,
off
call for the
reading.
question. I
Call
asked a
for
question for drainage.
No other further questions? All those in favor? Motion carried. All right, Councillor Fitzgerald, please.
All right, policies. This is item 2, I believe, on our agenda. So, as a member of the Public Works Committee, each week, including the minutes so passed, we have dealt with many stormwater concerns, which can be attributed to improper land development. This land development policy will allow our town officials knowledge of ongoing earthworks within town limits, ensuring proper slopes are maintained, address possible land drainage concerns, and generally ensure land is aesthetically pleasing to all their neighbors. Therefore, as Chair of Public Works, I recommend that council, I move that council accept the land development policy that's in front of you.
Okay, moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Langdon. Call for the question.
Right, you have a question on that, or you have no?
Question was answered there, yeah. Thanks.
I'd like to reference Deputy Mayor Young's email and what she learned at her training about policies and regulations, with the advice of, once we agree to what's been on the table, instead of making the motion to accept, that we have that legal input. Is that something that we want to, what do you?
But is that for regulation or for policy?
Well, is it best practice, like?
Yeah, I think, well, when I wrote that email, I was using the two terms interchangeably for sure. So I don't know 100%, I can't say for clarity.
Because a policy can be changed just by an act of council. Regulation you have to table that through.
Through legislation,
Yeah.
which is the difference, and that's where they kind of really have stressed that second objective legal review of it. So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that.
No,
I mean, personally, I don't think it's a bad idea anyway. But I guess to Darren's point, I guess if you can just change it if you run into
just
challenges.
a policy can be changed by act of council. You
Yeah.
can get rid of it tomorrow if you wanted to.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it was
Like-
deemed as.
I get what you're saying. Let's say we run into an issue because someone finds something or there's a situation that occurs, and you can make a quick
What it's a.
change.
It's titled as a
It does say
regulation.
regulation, yeah.
It does.
It's a land development regulation.
Okay, it should have been land development policy.
I guess it's just a wording piece.
Okay.
Actually, number 9.0 says policy/regulation. So it's sort of both.
Well, maybe in this case, maybe I should recommend that we move for legal. Well, recommend to pass and move to legal
Review?
review, if you need be.
Well, or you can, if you meant for this not to be regulation, if you meant for this to be a policy, just change the word.
Well, we'd
I
have
guess.
Yeah.
to defer until it gets updated.
Yeah.
You could accept it.
I can
With the
change the
change.
policy.
From
That's,
regulation to policy.
yep.
Because a regulation usually has a fine schedule or something attached to it, right? If you don't follow it, where a policy is something that we.
Well, technically, this would have a fine. So I'd have to move as a regulation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think in what I've learned, like if you're going to attach if something's going to be enforced and there's some sort of
Yeah.
punitive
Yeah.
response to it, if somebody doesn't, abide by it, then that tends to kind of slip over to that regulation piece. But
Yeah.
again, I'm new. I don't know
Yep,
with your
well-
experience
Now,
if,
regulation has to be, we gotta gazette it and all that kind of stuff, right? Like that
Yeah.
is a lot more than just policy.
Yep, I understand. Well, to the point that it's going to be fine, though, like I said, it is a security deposit that we are asking for.
But that's not fine, though.
It's a fine if you don't complete
Comply.
if you don't comply to the actual land development. And the town then secures that security deposit.
Just trying to think of something else that we have like that. Like our housing, like when you put in what's in an application for a permit, that has an amount attached to it. That's not a regulation, that's a policy.
Yeah, that's what I was under the assumption everything was the same.
Like whereas our taxi regulations, if you don't follow it, then we set a fine, keep writing a ticket.
Yeah.
Same thing with our dog regulation. If you don't, we catch your dog, we fine you, you have to pay a fine.
And the land development policy doesn't ask for
That's just asking for a deposit.
it's a deposit. It's not but the town will secure that deposit if the homeowner does not correct the issues need be.
Yeah.
So it's not really a regulation. There is a little bit of confusion there.
There's a monetary aspect to it,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's like a fine so much. I think it's just,
Just so if you
the
don't
same
pay
thing
the
with water
work.
sewer cutoff. We charge you,
Yeah, that's still a policy.
yeah, that's still a policy. We charge you $50 if you want us to go shut off your water.
Yeah. Okay, in that case, I'm gonna just continue with what I said.
And we're gonna change all the regulation where it's to a policy.
Policy, yeah. Okay, as per the changes noted about regulations and policy, I move that council accept the land development policy.
Darren, earlier, or as we were sort of giving feedback in terms, prior to this coming, do you want to know if there's, like, in this meeting, do you care if there's a spelling error? Like, do you want me to say where that is so that it still passes with, like, does that matter?
Well, I
Or
don't
is
know
that
if that
sort of
really matters.
insignificant? Is that
I don't think
insignificant?
it's really significant, it's because the
It's just
mayor and the
autocorrect. It's
clerk
just
have to
autocorrect.
sign the document, and I'm sure
Yeah, okay.
that would be completed before it's actually
Sure.
signed by.
You just email them to me tomorrow.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, and sorry, Councillor Hancock, not to cut you off, but that would be brought up in the next meeting if you noted any errors or omissions, so you can, prior to,
Yeah.
you can go.
Yeah, it was
that
only
route as
just,
well.
Yeah.
it's a autocorrect, obviously, form and form, it always happens, the one, everyone knows the one. But I did have a little question just before it goes through, and perhaps it's nothing and it won't change anything, but in 9.2.1 new lot developments, it mentions that from a backfill and excavation activity standpoint, about a real property report. And I'm just wondering, was this meant to be a survey, or like, 'cause I'm just thinking about, like, I know we're doing real property reports, but typically during construction of, say, like the building itself or structures. What about for like backfill and backfill and excavation? Were we doing real property or just survey?
We're just doing surveying. But the reason why it's brought there is it's a new property. We now request that you have to have a real property report. The real property report will provide those elevations.
I'm just thinking about the situation where if someone decides to, say, develop their land but has no intentions of doing a building for 2 years or something, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking about they wouldn't submit a real property report to do excavation, is what I'm saying.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
That's why I'm wondering if this should say survey.
I'm just trying to open it up here now. 9.2.
9.2 new lot development.
B,
B, sorry.
921B.
And this could be something we could just, if I'm correct, then we could just.
But in all honesty, for a new lot development, you have to have a permit in place before you can even go to erect anything in that area.
Yes.
So I would, to me, the real property report would still be required based on our regulations.
But I'm just thinking that, like, in this particular case, you got to get a permit in order to develop the land. That's a separate permit from a permit, say, to build a home, right?
It is a separate permit, but it's not really, it's to just fulfill yourself. I guess know
I
what you're
just wonder
saying
at
there.
this
I know what you're
stage, I
saying.
wonder at this stage if someone would have a real property report to submit, you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
Well, to me, I still believe the real property report should be in place anyway.
Oh,
Because you're
100%.
developing new
100%.
land, and it's either here or there. You're either going to, you're developing your land to prepare for that. Your real property report's not going to change from one year to the next. So yes, to develop that land, I do believe your real property report should be in place.
But a real property report is where you put the building, right?
It's where you're putting your building, but
Or
it increases
also-
your, it's your entire lot.
Yes,
What
with,
if I'm getting a
with any
building
structure.
lot ready to build on, but I'm gonna sell it then? I have this property, I'm gonna fill it, I'm gonna get it ready, then I'm gonna sell
No,
it.
it won't
I'm not
show
gonna build it
gradient
out
lines or
myself.
nothing.
Well, that would be existing land.
I don't know.
That would be existing land if you were to have it. You're not doing an actual lot development as such.
Yeah, the order reports are new.
Yeah.
New lot developments.
Councillor Fitzgerald, can I just ask real quickly to, especially for online viewers, I guess sometimes our debates are hard to understand what we're debating. But just a Cole's notes of what this policy is and why
Sure.
I thought it was
Like I said, obviously this policy is really based on for new developments.
Yeah.
As Public Works, we have dealt with numerous stormwater issues of improper berming, everything of that nature. And it's what's causing problems for everyone that may be adjacent to their properties and to actually our stormwater flows. So we want to ensure that we're able to just more or less have a knowledge of what's going on. We're not asking for an actual permit as such. We're asking for a security deposit to say that, well, if I'm going to bring in such X amount of loads, that I'm going to develop that land that's not going to affect any municipal infrastructure or adjacent neighbors. That's all the land policy is meant to do. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be loopholes and stuff in through it. It's a brand new policy.
Yeah.
But I've only been here for 5 months, and every time I do minutes for Public Works, we deal with stormwater every day. And it's hard for some of our residents, and just improper, people just doing things that they want to do with their land. It's affecting others, and I do believe that's where the importance of this policy fits in.
Perfect, thank you. All right, is there any more discussion? We've had this policy for quite some time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just sorry, I'm bringing it back to the whole policy versus regulation piece. And as of Section 413 of the Municipalities Act, which is what is stated under this policy regulation piece, is clearly noted under the Municipalities Act that any changes, regulations to control construction, location, maintenance, digging, drilling, all that kind of stuff is listed here as being a regulation.
Not policy. So under item 2, adoption, you're adopting under section 413 of the Municipalities Act as a regulation, not a policy.
So that would change our actual permit?
Can it be adopted?
Stop going to those courses, would you?
I know. That's what you get for sending the academic to the courses,
But-
right?
Only worth knowledge.
But I mean, just as you change the title, could you adopt it without going to 413? Or I got no issue going to legal. I think it's probably a good idea. I'm just curious, really, more than anything. Could that also be changed and this still remain a policy? Adopted under just the town of Deer Lake adopting it as
I
a
guess
policy?
my biggest thing here, Councillor Hancock, is how we want to combine this with our actual building permit. I don't want to take away from our building permit. That is one of our key control points of any municipality.
Yeah.
The clerk would have to notify the minister within 14 days of adoption. So that's your gazetting, that's your going to the ministers.
I mean, I don't have any questions about the bulk of what you're putting forth here. It's just whether it's the policy versus the regulation and whether that needs to go through legal avenues before or not.
Well, since we only found out about that today,
Yes.
yeah. Mr. Mayor, would it be good to say that I recommend this and move for legal representation? What would you feel?
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
see this come back to Public Works. We
No,
spent
no,
too much time at
no.
it.
And in all fairness, it's been at this table umpteen times, and I can appreciate everyone's patience and focus, because getting it right is most important, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, 100%.
a lot of times I sit here and listen to the conversations and go, wow, I'm not up to speed on every little part, and I'm far from perfect, but that's why collaboratively, as a team, we can all pick up on loopholes or mistakes or improvements or improvisations. So if you want to make an amendment to your motion,
Yeah.
correct, Lori?
Yeah.
We can do that route.
Okay, so like I said, I'm going to amend my motion here. It's more or less a recommendation for the town to move forward with the land development regulation, I'll call it that now, in front of you, but it's so moved to have legal review of such documentation.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by, it was seconded by Councillor Langdon. Call for the question once again. Hearing none, all those in favor as presented?
Or all those in favor of moving it to legal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as presented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, motion carried. All right, that's a regular typical public works from my experience anyway.
So,
There's another-
even if
there's-
it comes
there's
back
another-
as legal with all the legal terms, we can accept or decline the regulation at that time if we
Mhm.
wanted to.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the always enlightening
Well, there's-
recreation.
No,
There's a second
we
policy.
got one more thing.
Another policy.
This is a policy.
Sorry, sorry.
This one has a
Sorry,
fine.
Councillor Langen, I was trying to get you on the mic, so.
Yeah. All right, so to make this one very quick, I do believe this one is in working shape. I think it's been actually a shadow policy forever and a day here. So I move that the council accept the water and sewer connection policy that sits in front of you.
All right, moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Langdon. Call for a question.
And, so water connections 5, sewer connections 5,
That's been,
That's already-
is existing.
okay, and so under 2B2, applicant may be responsible for additional costs for connections exceeding 15.2 meters. I guess I get issues with that, 'cause we've seen in the past that our public works crew couldn't find a proper connection and end up removing more pavement than normal, than what you projected. So where I guess our bill had those drawings, I guess up to date or exactly where there's older part of town, whatever, I feel that the applicant shouldn't have to pay the additional costs. There's no fault of public works, no fault of applicant, it's just that, those built drawings are not proper. It could cause to be more work and extensive damage to our pavement. I've seen that in the past, and I just one part, I guess I can't agree with on that.
I'm with Councillor Jones on that. I'm fearful of, I agree with the water and sewer connection, but I'm concerned about the unknown for a resident in our newer areas of town.
Yeah, but
Like those blocks of town where we ran into issues before. That could be a large bill that somebody could not.
What classifies as may.
yeah. Well, that's why, there was a part there that we used the word may to the point of someone may decide to go build their house somewhere, and all of a sudden they need to run the line that's 100 meters long. I know it's not something that we foresee anywhere. I think for the most part, everything is more or less identified into the town. We did that. That was the one change we did. We still left you'd be more accountable for that part if it's a known extension. No residents can just assume that I'm going to pay $500 and run 100 meters of water line. So that's why we use the word may instead of to the point. I agree 100% with both Councillor Jones and Councillor Freak that just because of our error of knowing where something's to, should a resident have to pay for something. But I think there has to be a a cutoff line of saying what is known and what is unknown.
Right.
And that's what uses may.
So we decided that in the day, who the main person is, we decided it was Casman.
It says there, the PW committee shall review all extensions beyond 15.2 to determine if additional costs are required.
So technically, if the PW committee have to come to council then.
So probably works come to full committee, it's not just one person making a decision.
Committee.
That's probably worse.
And then to council, like Darren
And then
says.
would have to go to council. Because it's not,
Similar, Councillor Jones, to how we dealt with a couple files previously, but this here we put it on in writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, like, the one, I guess it sticks in my mind, is over on Tower Road, that,
Yeah.
we thought the catch basin or the connection was there, but it wasn't there, because the drawing wasn't right or whatever, and ended up being further. So I feel there's something like that there. The application, the applicant should have to pay for the extra cost. Now, I understand that you're going 200 meters down the road, yes, it's gonna be additional cost to this.
Yeah. Or by choice, like if you're choosing to go down there, that's different.
Like, I'm choosing to go down a 200-foot driveway, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go pay up to 50 meters.
and that's the reason why we put may in.
Yeah.
So this will give the committee discretion.
Well, I feel like if you're going down a 200-foot driveway, it's not. We're on our own road, we're running our own line, we're connecting to our own line. It wouldn't be from the pavement in.
No.
We're just pavement this way, on pavement, not in the driveway.
That item that you're talking about now has nothing to do with the item that you were discussing, but not knowing where the water line is. This item is, if someone decides to build their house 300 feet up the road, that there's no water and sewer ends down there, because you got free lot land. The town shouldn't be liable to bring the water and sewer 300 feet up if it was known that it was non-existent before you bought the land, or had the land. In case in point, Airport Avenue. There's a piece of crown land that's put there, people got the crown land, and then they wanted water and sewer after. So me as a taxpayer, I should have to pay to have water and sewer brought into their property because they got cheap land. They should be responsible to put in their own water and sewer after.
But you're delivering a service to a taxpayer who's going to pay property taxes to the town of Deer Lake for the rest of their days, now that their property is on it.
So
So-
you have developers say, okay, I'm only gonna bring my water line in, 50 feet from the property boundary, town's gonna bring the rest in for me. So why should we be putting a water line in to their development? They should be responsible for the full cost.
So as a developer, they have to follow subdivision development regulations. So I feel that the water sewer connection is just for an individual resident, not for a developer.
This year's
I would think.
But Councillor Freak, do we not want to ensure if, sure, but the person that's only had to go 15 feet as well is paying the same amount of taxes or based on their home value than the person that we had to put 300 feet? So if there isn't a regulation, go back to what Mr. Thomas said, is that, why would the developers make the initiative and spend more money to bring it right to the land?
My fear is not the 300 feet that we would have to go. There's very minimal of that in town. But the top of Old Bombay Road, if we had to do a pavement cut, I know that there was a bit of an issue there of like a very large hookup fee on that property because we were going to be cutting new pavement. You know what I mean? And that was like a discretion or a decision that was made. So I do feel that there needs to be a black and a white, but I mean, again, I'm going to come back to our Tower Road, for example. I mean, that property wasn't to do with that one.
Yeah. But that's where the discretion comes in, though, I think, for
Right.
the Public Works Committee. If it's, obviously, yeah, we look all over the place, and you can't expect the homeowner to go paying for this discovery. When we know that there's nothing in that area, and they go and put a 300-foot line through, the town of Deer Lake, the residents cannot be responsible just for that payment of $500, or the little bit of asphalt cost that we would usually, a homeowner would usually pay. Like, these can be enormous amounts of money.
In the past, when we've had developers go in and do that situation where they've wanted a dwelling farther down the road, they've put in the line and they've recouped their costs when other
the
people
sale.
hooked onto their line.
Right.
Yeah,
So this will be basically the same thing. We've had areas over off of Nicholsville Road where that have happened. We've had areas in off of Wallace Place where that happened. We've had areas in Industrial Park where that happened.
I think the point, I guess, back to the original question from Councilmember Jones is you want to assure that the resident isn't given the cost if we have to excavate extra asphalt to find the town's line, correct?
If I got a house and I got to hook up across the road, so we go in, okay, the water and sewer is running against by my property. So if I could hook up there, not a problem. But what happens if that's hook up is not there was supposed to be, and it means I'm going down the road for it. I understand that if someone's 200 or 300 feet away, they got to pay for additional costs. But I'm just wondering, I'm concerned about the extra costs that may be if our diagrams are not right.
And that would be, that's where the discretion.
That's where the discretion comes back.
But that's point, you're talking about B1.1, is it, Carrie? B2.
2.
Is there a maximum to these costs that you,
Well, no, because we don't know how much asphalt will be needed or the price of asphalt at the time.
right?
As it's a fluctuating cost. So the town charges its $500 connection fee for each service, but then the homeowner pays for the actual pavement patch and the granulars to fix the asphalt. So that's how it's all judged. But the hardest part is to the point of, are you gonna go, understanding Councillor Jones's consideration that we had to go dig a 50-foot hole instead of a 20-foot hole. That homeowner should not be responsible for that amount of asphalt. And I fully agree with that, which lays the discretion to the Public Works Committee to make that move, which in turn will come back to council, be accepted into the minutes. So each council member would still have that say of how they would feel. The recommendation would come from Public Works, obviously.
Only for section 2, but for part 1, it says here, the superintendent of public works himself makes
That's your
the call.
typical connection detail.
Okay.
So that's all that is.
So the homeowner would have to pay both of those, though, in addition?
Anything over.
Maybe.
Anything over.
Possibly.
15.2 meters.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think this policy is a major step in the right direction in comparison to the previous, because previous to this, they would have been responsible for the asphalt cut. That's the whole purpose of updating this policy, was to give some discretion, really. And just listening to what you're saying, I sort of was confused too, but I think that B2 is the exception to the rule. Very weird, very strange sort of situation, whereas number 1 is your typical situation.
Exactly right.
And number 1 is the correction for something like Tower Road, in my opinion. Number 1 would correct what happened on Tower Road. Is that right, Dave, a little bit? Is 1 more closely tied to Tower Road than, say, because 2 is a very exceptional thing, but 1 would fix the Tower Road thing, right?
I guess
That's the goal, is to make it not a solid number, but something that you could work with the homeowner on.
yes.
Yeah.
I would just hate to see the cost of it be prohibitive to development, right? And you're asking someone to sign a permit document really without knowing those numbers,
And
which.
that's where the town discretion would come in to say that, yeah, that's our issue. We should be responsible for that extra cost.
Mhm.
The problem, like, I think the problem is the unknown. That's the hard part. You know, you go digging and digging, and we have old infrastructure in a lot of parts of the community, so you might think it's here because this drawing said it was or whatever, but you go looking for it and it's, that's what happens, right? And Tower Road was a case like that to some degree, where the homeowner was going to have to pay an X amount of dollars, and we used our discretion to lower that amount because we felt that it was too much, really. And so this policy is an adaptation of the old one, but meant to allow us to do that on a continuous basis for those weird ones that occur, really.
Yeah, I think that's
You know?
what two represents.
Yeah.
Originally,
And-
we had shall, but then, based on conversations of previous, that's when we decided to move with the word may.
Yeah.
So put discretion into the council.
And then the other very positive thing in terms of how this is a policy that's actually forward thinking and moving forward is, from a town perspective, it is the pressure reducing valve as a requirement. So a couple of pieces happening here, and I think that's another good requirement.
Yeah, simple, small cost.
Yeah, and very small cost, but could save the homeowner as well. Quite, from
Most
a disaster,
definitely.
from a
Most
disaster.
definitely.
So.
All right, any more discussion, comments, questions?
Yeah, and the B2, I'm okay with, thank you for clarification. The B1 says agreed price shall be made between the applicant and town superintendent of public works. It says a PW in for such related works. What's this PW, is that just the superintendent got to make that decision, or is the public works committee?
Which one?
And third line in B1. The town superintendent of public works and PW in brackets. I didn't know if that was PW committee,
No, that's just a public works. It's not the committee, it's public works.
so it's just one person. Is there any place that a person can, I guess, disagree with it or put a dispute in that you don't agree with the price?
Well, I guess the thing with,
Appeal, what's that?
I guess you could do that, but I guess once again, when you come to agreed price, what we're looking at here is invoicing from outside sources. So the town can respectfully give that homeowner, this is the cost, because we don't have the equipment to do this work. So,
Kerry, Councilor Jones, you're correct. I mean, through that would still come in, because we would have a connection that would go to a public works committee or apartment housing. Therefore, it would be a public meeting, which would have a motion to accept that committee's minutes. Therefore, that's an appealable option that the public does have 14 days. Lori, after the motion has passed, that it can be appealed. So they don't feel they're comfortable with.
I think it is 14.
So many
So
days.
it still would be
Still
a
appeal
process,
process.
where they argue with us over what we're paying for asphalt, we would go to a hearing, and we would have a third party.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Would it be not better to have that up front, that we would know at the beginning of the season, here's our asphalt price, here's
we
what-
don't know that, see, this fluctuates, it's based on the Montreal rack or the, whatever they're selling liquid asphalt at the time. That could fluctuate from week to week based on petroleum prices. This year, I would not want to do a pavement
Oh,
cut.
that's right.
So is there an area in which the cost that's determined is actually documented? Because when we meet for environmental housing, we approve and, don't approve hookups and things, but I don't think we've ever discussed what people pay. To Jason's point, right? If it's going to be
yeah.
brought forth for everybody to vote on and the opportunity to appeal, then
Maybe
is there somewhere where that is actually documented?
I mean, maybe it should be something like the taxes, Curie, like so on, say like anything outside the norm. I mean, this would be outside the norm. This isn't typical. Like typically you arrive and you hook them up and you move on with your life and to some degree. But I mean, this does happen though. We do cut asphalt, but when we do, this could come at being that it's not a normal connection, meaning it's not 500 and 500. That just like taxes, anything that someone's seeking an exception or just to not pay business or whatever, has to go through finance. Anything outside the norm.
Yeah, like I said, I think the chance there is to appeal anything. It's just, I think you have to give your superintendent some grounds. He just can't stop work every time and wait for a decision made on the Public Works Committee or Council. He has to have
Some discretion.
the discretion to move forward. We do have invoices to show exactly what's going to be spent into these. Oh, we don't have a quarry ourselves, so those grinders got to be purchased somewhere, and the asphalt has to be purchased somewhere. So it's just not something that we're going to pull out of the ground here and say this is how it works. So I think what's stated there is it should be with the town superintendent to make that move. Every residence, obviously, everything we do, someone has a chance to appeal what we do. So, yeah, I don't know if we want to keep spelling out things more black and white on things, because then we're just going to be asking more questions and more questions and more questions.
Yeah, it can be difficult to do.
It'd be nice if in additional fees, there was like a third of, this is how we would determine pricing. This
Like a
is how,
formula.
a formula of how you're gonna get there, so it's not just up to council's discretion or up to, whatever pricing, that they would know, here's the guide of how council is gonna get there to get me this price.
Well, that's in the diagram. The
Right.
diagram tells you how they're going to do their trench.
Right.
So everything will be based on the square area of that trench and the tonnage of material to go into it.
And we would go out for 3 pricings?
Well,
To get
chance-
3 quotes on paving?
Well, if I were to guess, when it comes to paving, it's whoever we have locally at the time, because it's a lot cheaper for us to move in that direction. If we have anyone paving at the time. After that, I would assume, well, no, it's not I would assume, because it's a policy here that we have to go look for quotes. So
Right.
that's under the Tendering Act, so.
Don't we just do our own little patching after we does a water sewer?
Depends how big it is.
Yeah.
It's over certain, it's more than 20 by 24 square feet, you will contract to do it.
Yeah.
You just can't, you don't have to put it, you can patch it.
Yeah.
We do some doors out there, we can.
Smaller.
I don't think we're here to make money.
No.
And that's what I mean,
Yeah.
but you're also gonna recover your cost on tax base, going forward, so that's what I was trying to
Yeah, I understand that part, but I
Yeah.
still, I would still look at the point that, how Mr. Jones would have to pay for someone else's work.
right.
I think as long as the Public Works Division is happy in recovering the cost that it did and the time and energy for us to put in there, I don't think there's been any real complaints really about water and sewer connections in the last so many years. And I think that's how it's been done anyway, so I don't think we're here to reinvent the wheel, that kind of thing, but more or less to give some kind of ground to our Public Works
Well,
Division.
In the case of I know the example that keeps coming up obviously is Tar Road, but anyway.
But he says that it's not even related
no,
to me, that's why I'm
no.
wondering what I'm missing.
Well, I
Like,
think
if
that
it's not-
to number 2 it wasn't, but what I'm going to say is that in that case they actually didn't pay cost; they paid below cost, because in that case it was determined to be well, I guess just because we had to go searching for it, that we endured or we took on some of those costs essentially. But so I think what this policy allows is that it doesn't necessarily have to be cost recovery, depending on the situation. I don't know. Maybe it could go the other way a little bit, if we were on a fact-finding mission or something. I don't know.
All right, in respect to time and this one motion, I think we've all had fair and ample opportunity to discuss it. So I'll call for the third time. Is there any more discussion? We can put it to a vote, and that's the blessing and the beauty of democracy. If you're not in favor of it, you don't have to vote with no pressure. And if you're in favor of it, you can vote with no pressure as well. So I will call. We've called for the question. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3.
Passed.
And against? Motion carried. Thank you. And we shall move on to Recreation. Councillor Langdon, please.
Promise this will be much less discussion and shouldn't be very controversial, but.
Not now. I got lots of questions now.
The Department of Park, Recreation and Culture met on February 24, 2022. In attendance was myself, Councillor Hancock, Deputy Mayor Young, Director of Recreation Community Services Glenn Wiseman, and Director of Operations and Communications Jason Young. The meeting started at 12 p.m. Councillor Hancock and Deputy Mayor stepped out partway through the meeting. A discussion was had with the RV park operator and town staff. The operator expects to have the park open on May 24th weekend, weather permitting. In preparation for the opening, the operator will finish installation of the water and electricity to all sites, as well as Class A on the road work and landscaping. All the pre-season work is weather permitting at this time. Discussion was had with the Recreation Committee around the future development of Swartz Park. The possibility of getting funding to develop an outdoor ice surface for winter seasons was discussed pending funding approval. I believe that funding approval was sent out today, correct, Glenn? Applied for today. Item number 3, funding for community cleanup was applied for and approved for the date of June 8, 2022 for World Oceans Day. The town of Deer Lake, in conjunction with Xavier Junior High and SAM, which is the Stewardship Association of Municipalities. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Will perform a cleanup on the Deer Lake Beach and Commerce Street area, as well as the Nicholsville Road leading to the beach entrance. Item number 4, the Come Home Year funding was applied for and approved for the installation of flags and flower baskets along Commerce Street and Main Street in Deer Lake. The meeting was adjourned at 2:30 p.m. I make a motion to accept these minutes.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Langdon, seconded by Councillor Hancock. Call for the question.
Yeah, one question on number 2, Swartz Park. I guess applied for funding to be, for the winter season ice surface. Now, we're after spending, I think it's a little over $15,000 now, I guess, on development of Swartz Park, the theme, and where we're gonna go with it. Is this gonna?
Absolutely. So we're going to ensure that all current development do not interfere with the grand plan that's hopefully proposed for the future of Swartz Park, and we will ensure that any investment made now will not be backtracked or mitigated once the in a timely manner the funding is available for further development of the park.
Sure, thank you.
All right, great question. I just wanted to bring up something about Come Home Year. I guess your committee, Councillor Langdon, would know more. We don't have a specific date set yet, but just to let residents know, correct me if I'm wrong, that it is a work in progress and there will be Come Home Year celebrations. I'm sure everyone's been questioned quite a bit lately.
Yep, for sure. So the Come Home Year, I think, is going to be in conjunction with some Deer Lake Live events as well, and hopefully, numerous events throughout the year. But it sounds like at this time is going to be focused on one particular week in July. The dates are not really set for that yet, but we'll know pretty soon.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Just want to make comment on the flowers and things on Commerce Street. So we had a 2-year contract with the greenhouse. So they've pre-done our baskets and done a really good job on what we've had.
They weren't in the original plan.
The flowers?
We had purchased it.
Right. Yep. So I don't know if you want those to all match. Like you'd have to call the greenhouse now and get them ordered and whatnot. Done? Done and done. Look at that. I love it.
We're on the ball in this department, Amanda, don't worry.
What?
We're on the ball in this department, don't worry.
Well, and they do
We're all good.
They do the maintenance and fertilization and stuff of all that stuff. So it's a good year for that. When we talk about beautification, can I ask the question of demolition of what Main Street's going to look like?
Which part?
Not on the agenda. Okay, I'll ask another day.
No, but actually
I'll send to a committee. I'll send to a committee.
I was going to say, there you go.
Okay.
It's been on that one, and it'll likely be back there, so. It's there. Yeah.
All right, so any more
All right.
discussion or questions?
Nicholsville in item number 3 is spelled incorrectly, if you just want to update that.
All right, we'll note that. Dun, 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 dun. Speaking of Nicholsville, if anyone has time after this council meeting, we've got a couple photographers in our council chamber. I'm not pointing any fingers, folks, but it ain't me. It'd be nice if we could get a picture at the bridge. I think it'd be great. We did it when it was first lit up. If you have time, if not, that's okay as well. But I'd like to go see that tonight.
Oh, tonight? Okay.
Yeah.
What time we get to that already?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to call this meeting to adjournment. So, yes, sorry,
So-
but to Carrie's comment, so I'm going to call it an adjournment very soon. So, no further discussion. We'll call all those in favor. Motion carried. All right, just one quick thing here. Adjournment, obviously, it'll have to take place here, but in 2 weeks' time, March 14th brings us to a Civic Holiday. Would you like to schedule it for the Tuesday after, or would you like to go
Civic Holiday Park.
the following Monday? Same.
Look at Irish.
Luck of the Irish, yep. So what's your wishes?
It's
What was the second option there, Mayor?
Pardon?
What was the second option, Mayor?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What was the second option?
First,
You could have,
Tuesday or the next Monday.
Well, you can too, you don't, like, you know, the staff is out, people live enjoy the day after.
no, absolutely, and
Or you do it the following Monday, not the
No,
Monday
it's
of
gonna be
the.
pressing things.
there's a lot of stuff pressing, so,
Yeah, no, it's up to you guys.
so we,
We could do it the next week. Well, it's up to you
I'm off anyway, we're gonna take John's.
okay, so we will, is everyone in agreement, we'll have the meeting on March 15th on a Tuesday?
Sure.
All righty, so I will call for a mover to adjourn. Counselor Freak. Meeting is adjourned at 8:46. Thank you.
I feel,